Today for the Smart Dubai Digital Transformation Knowledge Sharing and Learning Session. Happy Women's International Day to everyone who celebrates. We are privileged to have two esteemed guests with us today. Her Excellency Dr. Aisha, the Director General of Smart Dubai Office, and Zeina El-Kaissi, who is the Head of Emerging Technology and Global Partnerships at the Smart Dubai Office. We had the privilege to learn from our colleagues from the Smart Dubai city 3 weeks ago during the World Government Summit, and we thought it would be a great opportunity to bring over Dr. Aisha and Zeina for a knowledge sharing event so that this knowledge is spread among the World Bank Group staff, but also our clients. Before we kick off our learning session, during which we'll learn about Smart Dubai Digital Transformation Strategy and one of the key initiatives like Dubai Paperless Strategy and Dubai's exploration and discovery with emerging technologies like blockchain and AI. Before we go deep into the details, I would like to welcome our CIO and Vice President for Information and Technology Solutions, Denis Robitaille, to provide us with his welcoming remarks.
Good morning, everybody, and also good evening or good afternoon or good morning to those of you that are online. I think we have a lot of people on live streaming from our country offices. And happy International Women's Day. Today I would like to welcome everybody to this exciting learning event entitled Smart Dubai Digital Transformation Journey. We have two fantastic speakers from Smart Dubai, which is the government office driving Dubai's citywide digital transformation. Before I introduce our guest speakers, I would like to share some thoughts on digital innovation and transformation in the context of cities. Smart cities are defined as cities that use information and communication technologies to increase operational efficiency, information sharing, and improvement of government services and citizen welfare. World Bank Group is learning how to harness and operationalize disruptive technologies like blockchain, AI, IoTs, through the exploration and research of teams across the bank in collaboration with groups such as the ITS Technology and Innovation Lab, led by Stella and Yusuf, the Digital Development Global Practice, and the Disruptive Technology Network in the World Bank. It is always useful to hear how these efforts are being undertaken and implemented in a country or city context, as well as hear about practical application of these technologies to system integral to the efficient and safe running of a municipality, systems such as land administration, healthcare services, and environmental protections. It is fitting that today, being the International Women's Day, I am introducing two exceptional women as our guest speakers. Dr. Aisha bin Bishr, I hope I pronounced your name properly, is the Director General of Smart Dubai Office, and she also leads the creation of the Smart City Index, the first ever benchmark for smart cities implementation across the globe in cooperation with the International Telecommunication Union and the United Nations. She has the distinction of being the first female executive to lead a smart city transformation and is an acclaimed digital transformation and smart cities global thought leader. Representing Smart Dubai in the City Protocol Society, Smart City Expo World Congress, and the Global System for Mobile Communication Association, Mobile World Congress. Dr. Aisha is joined by her colleague, Zeina El-Kaissi, Head of Emerging Technology and Global Partnership at Smart Dubai. Zeina leads the Dubai-wide strategy development and implementation of disruptive technologies and the positioning of Dubai as a global and industry leader in smart city field. Previously, Zeina was a technology entrepreneur in the field of city experiences and has authored studies and perspectives on a wide range of topics including technology, public sector governance, and innovation. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Aisha and Zeina.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And what more best than celebrate the International Women's Day than being here at the World Bank, presenting my own city, Dubai, as being a leader in a smart city ecosystem. And before I begin, I would like to thank His Excellency Deniz and the team of World Bank for the warm welcome and giving us the opportunity to present a smart city transformation agenda at the World Bank. And this happened only 3 weeks ago when both of the teams came together to initiate this call to have us invited in this platform. And as you know, and as it's been highlighted in many forums, that the globe is going through a fourth industrial revolution. Emerging technologies is transforming our lives, the way how we eat, how we transport from place to place, and how cities are interacting with people and together with other cities. And the questions lies in the front of us today: how does these technologies help us to be much more happier and having a much better lives? In order to answer this question, I want to take you or introduce you to Smart Dubai. Smart Dubai is a government entity, government organization responsible of the whole ICT sector, but our vision is to make Dubai the happiest city on earth. I can see some smiles here, and happiness and technology, yes. And for us in Dubai, we realize that the true value of implementing any technologies is to improve our lives, to make our life much easier. And I remember once I was sitting with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, the Vice President of UAE and the Prime Minister and the ruler of Dubai. He said, if these technologies will not ease our life, I don't want it. Before, we had one TV with one control, remote control. Now we are bringing all these screens with many remote controls that I don't know how to operate it. And I decided to shut down the TV. So please make sure that whatever technologies you're bringing on the table to add value to our citizens and to improve their lives. So we want to ensure that all these emerging technologies from blockchain, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, data, and the motion of how to use this data, how it will positively improve the productivity of our city and the productivity of our people. And this is what we do on a daily basis in Smart Dubai, to make sure that whatever we implement in our city will improve people happiness, but also environment and financial perspective of our city. But the main goal is to improve their happiness. And I'm not sure if you've visited Dubai. We do have like a happiness meter to measure the happiness of our people. Yes, it is a small device or a small application that you'll see it everywhere in Dubai, but it's mean a lot for our leadership that they can access lively and immediately to understand which area of Dubai made our people more happier through their experiences in our city. And in this slide, I want to show you exactly what we are doing and when it's come to a smart city office, because none of the other cities have the same office that's responsible for the digital transformation. And we took this bold movement to initiate a government entity that handle the ICT. Normally in cities, they do have the CIO office under the mayor. When it's come to countries, they have the ICT minister, but we operate differently. We work with our government partners, public sector partners, private sector partners, and we do believe in collaboration to study how these emerging technologies will affect our lives. Not us only, residents, but also our visitors. And then, once we identify these technologies, we start again with them to design these experiences utilizing these technologies. But also one of our responsibilities is to enable the ecosystems of smart city and the emerging technologies by embracing and boosting the startup and the entrepreneurs sector into our work. However, recently, after 3 years of working around smart cities and smart applications and systems, people still struggle to understand what do we mean by smart. Smart is a very general vocabulary. And here where we started to think differently. And we wanted to make it very simple and people can understand what do we mean by a smart city. And I'm not sure if you can recognize some of whatever I'm going to present now. A passport copy, a title deed copy, no objection certification, and you name it. And I want to hear how many of you are tired from queuing in customer centers and carrying all of these documents just to show government that this is me, to authenticate myself, and to authenticate that I am the owner of these assets. I'm sure, because even me, like whenever I think I will interact with government entities, I need to make sure that I'm carrying with me my folder with all the copies, even though many of them who claim to be smart entities, they have online systems, and they will ask you, please upload your documents there. And you think that, wow, that's it. And then a message will come, now come and visit us with copies of these documents. Okay? That's what we want to eliminate in our city. Unbelievably, we did a study in Dubai. We consume more than 1 billion papers on a yearly basis. And this is only in the front line services, requesting all these documents from our customers. And guess what? If we eliminate this 1 billion documents or papers, if we eliminate all these customer center in our cities, and can you believe a small city like Dubai, we have more than 200 customer centers in Dubai to do all of these, collecting all of these documents. Eliminating this 1 billion papers, we can feed more than 130 million kids globally. We can save more than 130,000 trees. That is 5 times the size of the Central Park in New York. And we can free almost 40 hours for every individual in our city that he can spend it or she can spend it in something that she likes. So, why do we need all these papers? Isn't it us as a government who authenticate you and she and the rest? Why we ask for all these questions like, give me your passport copy, give me your ID copy, and so forth? It's because and also we claim to be smart governments and smart entities, but because we don't utilize these systems properly. But we have the question for it. The head of our government, the Crown Prince, Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed, he came to us last year and he said, enough is enough. We've invested so much in our infrastructure, and today we want to have a clear targets that by 2021, December 12, we want to celebrate the last transacted document from our government. And this is how we operate back home in the United Arab Emirates and in Dubai. We do have a visionary leaders, but this is not enough. We have an excellent execution arms, but this is also not enough. We need to have a focused and targeted objectives that we want to go and we want to reach. And that's what we've done with Dubai paperless strategy. And I would like to also invite you in December 2021 to celebrate with us. And hopefully we can do a big celebration when we transact the last document in Dubai. And if I want to explain to you what do we mean by a paperless government, it's mean we want to go 100% digital, whether it be in the front end of our government, facing the customers, facing our citizens, residents, and visitors, but also in between us. Because guess what? It is us internally that we are not adopting the digital platform. It's not the citizens. We are blessed in Dubai that we have a young generations. But us as a government or public servants, we like to touch papers. We like to print papers and consume all of these documents. So it's mean our citizens won't get stuck in traffic and won't queue in customer centers, and they can get their services whenever, wherever they are. And the paperless strategy built on 3 pillars. Technology, which is, I'm sure many of my colleagues here who have the background of ICT, this is the most easiest part. You can build all these solutions, but the difficult part is how to adapt your legislative framework to adapt these technologies. Because guess what also? Many of our government entities, in the decree of initiating these organizations, it's written there that citizens or customers, they have to come physically to our organization and they have to submit physical documents. So we are working with with the relevant legal authorities in Dubai to eliminate all of these wording in our legal formats to make sure that the courts can accept all these digital documents and also the government itself. But the most challenging pillar, I would say, it is the cultural shift, externally and internally. As I said, we are blessed, alhamdulillah. In Dubai, we have a very young generation, whether it be our own nationals or even the residents and the expats who come to work in Dubai, all of them with 2, 3 smart devices in their hand, and they are tech savvy. They want to touch all these new technologies. But also we have to change the way how we do our businesses internally, whether it be in the government sector, but also in the private sector. And now the big question, how we can do this? Is it easy? In Dubai, we did put a formula and we tested it in the last 6 months. Our first step, we worked with one of the biggest entities in Dubai government, the Road and Transport Authority, the utility agency, the police, economic department, land department, Department of Tourism. And in 6 months, we cut down 57% of the papers. This is almost like 37 million dirhams in 1 year. Just from cutting down all these documents and make sure that they use the digital system that already is there. We didn't invest in any new systems internally. We do have in Dubai, and thank God, alhamdulillah, since 2003, we have a unified ERP solution for all 62 government agencies running the payroll of more than 75,000 employees, running our budget, our inventory, you name it. So all what we've done is to connect all these loose dots, and we managed to cut down 57%. And now we are going into our second phase, wherein we are bringing on board more 9 government agencies in 2019, and 2020 more will come. Now, digitizing internally is really nice, but also we want to make sure that we transform the idea of having, imagine today in Dubai, we have more than 1,600 digital services. So for me, if I want to have a service in Dubai, I need to search the index where I will find this service. And since 2013, when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai, he said, I want our government to become smart, we launched 124 applications. Can you imagine you have 124 application in your smart device? Your battery will be drained. That's why today we wanted to eliminate all of these and to unify these experiences for everyone. Because these 124 applications, almost 50% of them, they've been downloaded, 5,000 downloads for these applications. But yet government pay a lot, like almost 76 of these applications, they get updated and upgrades every year. It means there is money put there in the place. But as you know, when it's come to government systems, we don't think a lot about the return of investment of what we put. Okay, there's something new, let us invest in it. But no, we want to put ourselves in the shoes of our citizens and see how these citizens want to interact with our city. So again, we solve this issue by studying and analyzing all of these 1,600 services and shifting our mind from services to journeys. And this is not something new. The private sector has been doing it. So we need to learn also from our partners in the private sector. Look at this example. Today, if you want to drive a vehicle in Dubai, you need to interact with more than 7 agencies, whether it be government or private sector, to drive a car. When you come to me as a government, I'll tell you, no, first you have to have a driving license. Okay, I want to drive a car. I know, this is your issue, not my issue as a government. For me as a government, you need to have a driving license and to register your car. In between, this is your own issue. But for me, I'm here in Dubai. I want Dubai to listen to my needs and to provide me with these needs. That's why we redesigned the whole, and we re-engineered the whole journey for driving a vehicle into 100% digital, wherein I can obtain the driving license, I can search for a vehicle, I can get it financed and insured, and register it, and get all the permits, and even get the fuel all digital from one place. I will share with you this video, and I hope it will work. Isn't it nice and refreshing to have everything happening from one platform? And here where we launched what we call Dubai Now. It's a platform and also an application wherein all what you want from your city will happen now by pressing these simple buttons. We worked very closely with our government entities, but also with the private sector to digitize almost 32 digital customer journeys in Dubai. Whether it be starting a family or buying a property, work, or study in Dubai, or opening new businesses and so forth. And as I said, we are not only working with the government entities, but also with the financial institutes, insurance institutes, startups who provide today aggregated data about several things in our city to have them all in one place. In our first year, we managed to digitize 2 journeys, driving a car and moving to a new house in Dubai. Just to test that, yes, we can digitize things if we put that idea in our mind that we need to re-engineer everything. Because what's happened previously, we took our traditional way how we provide services and we move it into online as websites with the same traditions at the back end, and then to smart applications, and that's why we have all these duplicate efforts happening all over the city. And to implement the Dubai paperless strategy, we had to oversee all these systems. We work as the orchestrator with our strategic partners, from engaging the stakeholders to developing the journeys, to design the UX and the UI, to re-engineer the business processes and document the knowledge and sharing it across other entities, but also to work around the legislative perspective and also to integrate the latest emerging technologies into these journeys. And now I will share with you our strategy I shared with you our strategy. I want to share also with you what kind of technologies we are using in our journey. Blockchain. I know it's like the hype since like 3 years now. Everyone is talking about blockchain. I will not go into details. My colleague Zeina, she will elaborate more when it's come to blockchain. But what I want to say is today, the power of blockchain is still highly undiscovered. And people normally think that blockchain is the Bitcoin or the digital currencies. No. Blockchain can shift the way how we transact with others, with other entities. Similarly, as the internet changed the way how we communicate with others. As I said, Zeina will elaborate more around the blockchain strategy that we launched since 2016. AI. Following the UAE national AI strategy, I'm sure that you heard UAE has the first AI minister. And in Dubai also, we developed the AI roadmap that will help our government entities to embrace this technology. We have almost 43 use cases that the AI can help. Because also blockchain and AI and all of these emerging technologies, they are not the answers for everything in our cities. We need to be clever and smart how we adopt these technologies. And by the way, Rashid is our AI concierge in Dubai. And maybe you will ask why Rashid. Rashid is the founder of Dubai. And that's why people, when we post on Twitter, can you select with us a name for our artificial intelligence agent? They selected Rashid, similar like Watson, who is the founder of IBM. It's their AI agent. Today in Dubai, Rashid can answer any question you have. If you want to open a business, if you want to live in Dubai, if you want to search the best schools that you can take your kids with, even like what type of curriculum, in a very easy mood. And the digital services, and part of it is the UAE Pass. It's the enablement component of our digital transformation roadmap. Similarly, like the digital payment gateways, we need also to have a proper authentication system that will authenticate you in the digital world. And in UAE, we transformed the national ID into a digital platform that not only provide you a single set of accreditation that credentials that allow you to access to the city digital services, but also give you the digital signing capabilities, because this is so integral to connect all these services and have a unified digital journey, because you don't want through this journey some notification come back to our offices to sign a document. So this is one of our building blocks that allow us to go forward when it's come to the paperless strategy. And I would like to conclude by inviting you all to join the Smart City Global Network so we can work all together to discover the implemented solutions that inspire our new realities. The Smart City Global Network it's an international network of smart city stakeholders, be it public agencies, cities, researchers, entrepreneurs, enthusiasts around smart cities, whether it be from the government or from the private sector or from the academia, to explore and share knowledge around the ecosystem of smart cities. At the end, I would like to thank you all for allowing us to come into this prestigious platform to share with you our experience and how we are transforming our city to a paperless city and very soon also to a cashless city. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha. My name is Oleg Petrov. I'm the co-host of this seminar together with Stella. I'm with the Digital Development Global Practice, which is the World Bank's group of professionals working on digital development, digital economy worldwide. So this event is of great importance to both to our staff, but also to our clients who work on this topic in many countries. So we keep hearing about interest from different countries about in Dubai, and it's a very special day today that we, first time in my memory, that we have a showcase of Smart Dubai experience. We've received so many questions and so many requests for examples and know-how from Dubai, from countries I personally work with a lot in Central Asia, and many of them will be watching this recorded session later because it's late there, and it's also today's a holiday, and I'd like to congratulate all the women who are here today, but also those who are watching online and will be watching recorded webcast. This is a very special day, and this is our gift to all of you to enjoy such powerful statement from two leaders, women leaders of digital transformation in Middle East. I couldn't think of a better opportunity to bring our distinguished guests here to the World Bank. And when I saw them in Dubai a few weeks ago, I felt we must bring them here because this message has to be delivered globally. It's not just for those who were physically there in Dubai for the World Government Summit, but we need to broadcast that widely. And what Dubai is doing today is really ahead of the game. So it's they are at least 5-10 years ahead of most of our client countries. So today we're seeing the future of many of our clients, and we're bringing that future today by digesting here as the World Bank, but also by packaging it through knowledge products and bringing that into our design of our projects. So we hope to the solutions which were mentioned today, the artificial intelligence solution, the Rashid, and the solutions which Zeina, our other great expert, will be sharing today, will be brought into some of our projects. And I would be very interested, as someone working on digital development in Central Asia, to see those solutions explored together with your team in some of our projects. So I hope my partners from those countries will come to visit you and to learn in more detail what you're doing. So with this, I would like to pass the floor to our great, great partner from city of Dubai, Zeina Al-Kaissi, who's the head of the Emerging Technology and Global Partnership in Smart Dubai team. Zeina, over to you.
Thank you, Oleg. Good morning. So, blockchain, a lot of buzz in the last 2 years, and I'm here today to tell you more about the Dubai blockchain story in particular, and how this city has become dubbed by the international community as the blockchain capital of the world, which was an ambition that we had, and today I'll tell you about that journey. But it all started in late 2016, when Smart Dubai began to explore the potential of blockchain in the realm of government transactions and experiences. It was a time where, as Dr. Aisha mentioned, it was all about cryptocurrencies and buying Bitcoin as fast and as much as we can. And we were looking at the technology and how to help us to reach our 100% digital goal as an underlying accelerator and propeller to this larger goal that we had for the city and for citizens. And we began to see very quickly, in late 2016, that this technology has the potential to do for transactions what the internet did for information. And that is unlock major value in how government and citizens interact, and potentially, and we can see that today, transform the role of government. And we believe in that. So let me put this in context, because you might be wondering, blockchain and government, how, why? What is she talking about? building on that example that Dr. Aisha mentioned with the vehicle, but you can actually also consider an example of purchasing a home, not just a vehicle. These are transactions that are typical. Any person moving to a new city or even just living in a city requires a home, requires a vehicle of some sort. And today, you would have to physically visit over 7 locations to get that transaction done. If you don't have your identity, for example, updated, you would need to go to the government organization responsible for your passport or your national identity and update those documents. If you wanted a loan, you would need to go to your employer and request a salary certificate to give it to the bank. So then you would need to go to the bank and apply for the loan and provide that information. And then you would need to go to the insurance company. And all of this time, you're leaving your job, you're leaving your house, you're getting in your car, driving, getting stuck in traffic, creating traffic, right, to get these things done. And there you are, hopping from one place to the other to get a simple transaction of a vehicle done. So in essence, the government is using citizens as a data transportation tool, a walking, talking USB stick. Because the government has all this information. But then it's requesting you to carry that piece of paper from one entity to the other. Enter blockchain into the picture, and through what is called, and you might have heard this by now, a distributed ledger, fancy word for database, but secure database, that information that was once fragmented and that was once controlled by each of these parties can now be identically shared between them. And you no longer have to, as a human being, as an individual, take on that role of transporting that data on pieces of paper. That data can become available in a secure environment to the parties that require it. And so now the only visit you have to do is to try out that car. And there are certain things we want you to experience for yourself, like the car you want, the house you want, but that should be it. Keep the data on us and the data sharing on us. So when we started to see this potential and believe in it, we presented it to the leadership and head of government in Dubai. And because he is also an ambitious and visionary leader, he said, go ahead. Make Dubai the first city fully powered by blockchain by 2020. A bold statement, but that's what Dubai is about. We're a bold city. We're bold people. We like to take risks. So when the statement came out, we hadn't yet started working with the government organizations, but we wanted something visionary to create that momentum and create a mission, a collective dream. At the end of the day, when we work together as government organizations, we're working with people, and people love to dream together. So let's see what happened after that. A lot. A lot happened since that statement and to today. We won in 2017 a global award as the best city in Barcelona, in the Smart City Expo in Barcelona. A very prestigious, and you know, the Oscar of smart cities, basically, just to put it easily there. And it was for blockchain, for our work on blockchain, which I'm going to explain in a second. We had international media from CNN and Forbes, Wall Street Journal, etc. come and interview. What are you doing? We've never seen blockchain used in this context. And we've never seen it rolled out on a citywide scale in this way that you're doing. What are the success factors? What are the challenges? Is it working? Is it failing? What are the lessons learned? And we published a lot of content around that in internationally recognized publications in the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, and hopefully soon with you at the World Bank. So what's the secret ingredient? What's the formula to get us from a statement to recognition? A very clear and structured blockchain strategy that we could rally behind, that had clear objectives, clear KPIs, and a clear set of actions for all those involved. 3 key pillars make up this strategy. The first one being around using blockchain to create that government efficiency so that we can achieve the seamless experiences that Dr. Aisha presented in our paperless ambition. So how do we use blockchain to get to paperless? And also make the back end more efficient. The second pillar, if we're going to do the first one, we might as well create an industry around blockchain. Because the moment we announced that we have over 20 use cases being implemented, startups started to pour into the city. Companies that are working on blockchain, even ones that were not startups in the world of blockchain, set up offices. Not only in the city, they set up in the building next door to us. They said, we just want to be close. And now every time we step out of the lift, they're right there. And finally, how can we be thought leaders globally on the advancement of emerging technology to better society? What content can we produce? What events should we host? And we'll talk more about that also today. So these are our 3 pillars. Let me take you through each one. So the government efficiency one is the work that Smart Dubai did very closely across the city with all the organizations. And for that, there are also 3 components. The first is, where are we going to apply blockchain and why? And that's what we call the use cases. I'll deep dive into that. The second one is, what is going to help the entities build these solutions beyond proof of concept and minimum viable products? Scale, production. So you need infrastructure. And why not shared? The trend in government and technology infrastructure is shared services. There shouldn't be duplication. So this is where I'll talk about our first shared blockchain platform as a service. And finally, the need started to emerge around having a very clear blockchain implementation policy when the entities started to implement. And that was a very good sign for us. When government organizations come to a central body and ask for policy, and ask to be governed, that's a great sign that they're knee-deep in implementation. Because usually, entities don't want to be governed and controlled. They want to do, what they want to do. So for them to come and ask for that means that there are clear policy needs. And I'll tell you what they are today. And we address them through what we call Dubai's blockchain implementation policy. So let's deep dive now into each of these. Get into the tough stuff. The use cases. There was a process for this. A bit of science here. Late 2016, bold statement comes out, Dubai is adopting blockchain. 2020, we want to be fully powered by blockchain. Early 2017, and I mean early, like January 2nd, we started working with every single government organization on identifying where blockchain can address the particular pain points in the different sectors. We don't have any generic statements like, oh, there's blockchain, it's a magic wand, you just wave it and you can solve all your pain points. In energy, this is what it can do. In healthcare, very different, this is what it can do. In education, also different applications and solutions. And we used 2017 as the year to identify those use cases and design them. And 2018 and up to date today, 2019, to start building the proof of concepts, the minimum viable products. And we saw some of those use cases graduate from MVPs to live production. I'll tell you about those as well, even before the 2020 deadline. And used as role models for the other use cases that were still struggling in the MVP phase, which is natural because we're adopting, there's no playbook. We're adopting an emerging technology. Everywhere we apply it, challenges come out, and we have to solve them and go back to the thinking table. There's no benchmark here. We're creating a benchmark, so that makes it all the more difficult, but all the more interesting. So we didn't leave any entity, whether it be public sector or private sector, that approached us and said, we want to work also on applications in the hotel industry, in the retail, in the airlines. We embrace them. Let's go, let's do it. Yes, why not? Not only government, but across the board. Here are some examples, just to bring this idea closer, of what we call the blockchain use cases. So renting or buying a property. We worked with the parties involved in this to bring to the user an experience of renting a home or purchasing a home completely digitally, using the blockchain as the backend. Obtaining a commercial license. So this has to do with starting a business. Dubai is an economic hub. Businesses come from all over the world and set up offices in Dubai. This is very crucial use case. Reconciling payments on Dubai Now. So now that you've been introduced to Dubai Now, one of the features that it has is citizens use it to pay their bills, to pay their fines, And that's revenue for the government. Smart Dubai takes in all of that revenue and on the back end redistributes it to the government organization. So your speeding fines go to the police department, but your energy bill goes to the electricity authority. That reconciliation on the back end used to take 45 days of manual work from people basically doing it item by item. We applied blockchain and now it's instant reconciliation from 45 days to 0 time. This is in live production now, and we're in the process of onboarding more and more entities. This is past MVP. Licensing medical institutions and doctors. Issuing wills. Using blockchain as a means to reconcile energy between electric vehicles and stations, and payments as well. Managing the life cycle of a vehicle, the ownership, the parts. You know, blockchain is a great application for chain of custody or provenance. In the education sector, enrolling and managing students, whether it's academic records or transfers from school to school, blockchain is a great tool for that. So these are just some examples of the use cases that we have in the government. Now, this is all great so far. Great ambition, we have a strategy, but now we have to get to the convincing part with the government organizations, because the moment you knock on the door, they say, oh, hello, but we're already digital. So the first thing we did in this process was create very clear and specific baseline of the existing situation in any of the sectors. In this case, the real estate sector, right? This is currently what it takes to buy a home. The bullet points are documents. The other icons you see are rubber stamps or physical signatures on paper that are required in each of these steps. So whether we think we're digital or not doesn't matter anymore, because the baseline tells the story very clearly of what is really happening on the ground for that citizen that's going to purchase a home. So that's the first step. We did this for all the use cases in all the sectors, the baseline of the current situation. And just to push this point further, we identified what really are the pain points qualitatively, but also quantifying them in numbers to bring them closer to the audience, which is in this case the custodian of this process and the parties involved. So that usually there are many parties involved, it's not one entity. So what was the problem with that baseline I just showed you? It's obviously slow because of all the transactions you had to do over several days, if not weeks. It's manual and complex. Just understanding what you need to do needs a time off from your work or whatever you're doing, just to figure out what do I need to do to get this done. Paper intensive, as you saw, and expensive. Dealing with all these entities, there are fees across the board. There's you taking time off work, getting in your vehicle again, getting out in traffic, paying for that gas, etc., paying for the fees. In terms of numbers, 300 sheets of paper just in that transaction, 26 different types of documents, 13 rubber stamps, like literally the stamps, you know, with the ink? Yeah, those, 2019. So here you can imagine we're presenting this as Smart Dubai to these parties in the room. And they're starting to lose the statement of we're digital and starting to listen a little bit more. Maybe these guys are onto something. Then we have to come to the key question. Okay, so yeah, well, maybe we do have a problem. But why blockchain? And this is important. We get asked this question a lot. It's not that you can't solve this issue without blockchain. You probably could, right? There are systems out there. But this is just a better way to do it. In this case, here's a technology that's offering everything you need, from distributed ledgers for the data, from provenance and e-signatures, from smart contracts, from a way to tokenize the asset so that it can be transferred from buyer and seller, from integration of digital identity, from having a secure environment. Why not? So I say, no, not why blockchain, why not, right? And then we created something called the blockchain scorecard, and we scored every use case on that scorecard. Does it need what the blockchain can offer? If yes, and you get a high score, then let's continue the dialogue. If no, it doesn't need these things, then just go invest in a basic database or a basic tool or software from the market. So much is out there, if that's the case. So we're also very strict on if it doesn't need blockchain, let's not use blockchain. Let's just, because it's so much simpler to use something that's existing than go for an emerging technology for a process that doesn't require it. Next step. Next question usually is, okay, all right, maybe blockchain, yeah, maybe we have a problem, maybe blockchain. But what is our role going to be? Are we going to lose our jobs? What are we supposed to do post-blockchain? So, all right, okay, here you go. This is your current role. This is where and how blockchain transforms that role. And this is your new role post-blockchain. A better role, a role of governance, a role of policy, a role of verification, yes, still needed, but not a role of rubber stamping, not a role of customer centers to welcome people with a smile that don't even want to be there. You can smile all you want. I really don't want to be here, right? I want to be somewhere else. Next step. Okay, all right. We can live with that new role, but what's the impact going to be if we implement blockchain? On the process, but also on savings. Are there any financial implications? And we outlined those, and these are particular to every use case. Depends on the transaction volume, depends on the fees that were collected, depends on the new operating model. What is the saving going to look like? And then the bullet points are more around what is going to happen just in general to the transaction beyond the numbers. Lower cost of business, more efficient markets, probably more sales of properties. Once you make it easier, it's more attractive for people to get into that market and invest even. Now, okay, we're convinced, but we have no idea how to do this. Okay? So let's take that first step together and support now on the technical side, what is that design going to look like? So we hear, and this is where we leave the meeting room and go into more workshop mode, rolling up the sleeves. Now, okay, now that we're all on board and we're going to do this, let's take that process and first off, try to understand what data is going to move to the blockchain on the distributed ledgers. So this is an example, just a visual here to get this idea closer. For each of these steps, we had the data outlined for that ledger. But also, we brought in blockchain architects, blockchain experts. By the way, an expert in the blockchain world is someone that's worked in blockchain for 2 years. Because that's how old the technology is. Anyone who says more than that, don't believe it, okay? So these are people with traditionally expertise in just technology architecture that have understand now blockchain and then integrate those two skill sets together to support the creation of what could look like a blockchain network. Not only here, we provided information on who the entities are that are going to be part of this initial network. And obviously networks start out with some parties, but then they grow and expand over time to include more from the market. But also includes what kind of digital services need to be integrated by any of these parties, like digital identity is core. You can't have a transaction, even if it's on the blockchain, without at least having a way for user authentication and validation. So what I've shown you so far is around that element of how we went about identifying the use cases, understanding the implication of blockchain on those use cases, and then moving forward with organizations on technically designing and getting into that implementation mode. And from that point on, we said to the entities, all right, Godspeed, go ahead. Now you have what you need. Have your developers or hire the right talent to go on to a proof of concept, first off, and then move to MVP and then full-scale production. And it was important that we do this in phases because we're learning. And we might hit challenges that some can be resolved and some, let's be honest, might not be resolved, and we'd have to pivot and adapt accordingly. When that started to happen, when organizations started to go through that implementation phase, the blockchain policy became a necessity. They had a lot of questions on how to govern this network. It was the first time these parties had to come together on a technology platform, share data, and start fighting about IP and funding and who does what and who makes what decisions related to that data. Good fights, right? I mean, this is the kind of fight you want. It generates momentum. But we had a role now, a serious role, to create that policy. So first things first, we took a look at the world. We said, all right, if there are components out there that are going to help us, let's find out what they are, so we don't reinvent the wheel in some aspects. And we looked at the European Union, we looked at the United States and other leading places around the world in the technology. We found that no one has a comprehensive blockchain policy that would answer the questions our entities were asking that were quite advanced in their fields. That's the first learning. So I said, oh, all right, then we're going to have to do it. We thought we could benchmark here, but again, no. So then we deep dive into any components we could find out there in countries from Estonia, Singapore, Switzerland, what have you, but also industry components. So, you know, there's the Hyperledger Foundation, the Ethereum Enterprise, for those of you familiar with the protocols around blockchain. They were moving and trying to also unlock some challenges through policy. And we looked at companies that are leading in this space. So there's around 250 pages of content created from this benchmarking exercise. If anyone ever thought of blockchain, it's in there, right? So that we can learn. But then we had to really go to our entities and ask them, what's the issue? And so we held several blockchain policy workshops. This is a sample schedule of what happens in those workshops, and we brought people around the table that were in the trenches at that point. Anyone who likes blockchain and just likes to talk about it was not invited. Only if you're implementing, then you get a seat at the table, because we want to hear really what's going on beyond ideation in the trenches. With three objectives in hand. Number one, let's summarize together and confirm the blockchain challenges that you faced when implementing. And then let's identify together the blockchain policy needs, and then move on to some policy options to address each of those needs. And the result was a policy structured around three key pillars. The first, network governance, the holy grail of blockchain implementation. The first step that usually gets in the way. Who's coming on board this network? What is their role going to be, and so forth. So here we talked about network ownership and membership, funding and monetization, intellectual property, and network expansion, locally and across borders, even more importantly, and more difficult. The second component, how are we going to operate this network post-establishment? And here the components are around the data formats and interoperability. Obviously, data is the fuel of the blockchain. Data privacy and confidentiality, network security, audit and compliance, and communication. And the third component is around what we call foundational capabilities. So the underlying technology platform and related services, the architecture and standards, the shared network services that were going to have to be part of the implementation, like identity, payment, and so forth, and the legal support that as you move forward and progress becomes even more and more important. I'm going to elaborate on these, I think because Stella and Oleg really want me to. Is that right? Okay. Usually I don't deep dive, but here we are. We came all the way, so let's do it. The first component on network governance. Now let's take that first, network ownership and membership. First thing that comes to question here, first challenge, is the onboarding and offboarding procedures. So the policy goes into policy options related to that component. What are viable network operating models, including the roles and responsibilities of every network member? These are questions the entities came to us with. What is a fair and secure way to accomplish consensus in the transaction validation process? And what about when you're setting out to establish a network that there's a duplicate of already being worked on in the city? Well, let's not duplicate. So a part of the onboarding process is to ask yourself whether this network is somebody else is already establishing it. And since Smart Dubai has the oversight citywide, it can answer that question and help support. So we provided a policy component saying, once you start establishing a network, you need our approval so that we can let you know what's happening. And if you're duplicating, we don't want duplicate networks emerging in the city. And one of the complaints we received from the large organizations that issue the non-objection certificates for many transactions is, how many networks are we supposed to be a part of? Okay, we love blockchain and everything, but this is not feasible. So understanding if you need a network to begin with is key. Funding and monetization. Who pays what and how much? The person that came up with the idea in the network lead, or the person with the most number of transactions, or the person with the deepest pocket? Monetization and business models once the network is up and running. Cost sharing for other components that are going to be required, not blockchain specifically, but that you would need, including legal fees. Who pays that? On intellectual property, what can be covered under IP in the blockchain network? What about what I brought with me into the network originally? What about what is being created as part of the network operations in terms of intellectual property? How do we handle it? How do we protect it? And how do we license it? And more importantly is then, who owns this data when it's shared between these network members? On the network expansion, how do we approach and join international networks? Can we approach and join any international network? What about data privacy and security related to the government of Dubai? How about cross-sector expansion within Dubai? And how do we reach a consensus on expanding that network beyond borders? Do we all have to agree? Or is it a majority vote? What does it look like? Because I want to connect to universities globally, but my stakeholder in this network, in the education network, for example, just wants to cover local universities, right? The second component around network operations, if we peel the onion here quickly, on data formats and interoperability, how do we transform data from existing systems to blockchain? And this is important because this is a chance to build an accurate single source of truth once and for all. And in many cases, that doesn't exist. So in some instances, there are no primary registries for data that are single sources of truth. And the blockchain then ledger becomes that registry. So before you onboard that data, there are things that you need to do. We don't want you to carry your inaccurate data and duplicated data onto the blockchain as is. So here, there's an agreement on the shared data formats, the accuracy and the quality, and what it has to, what needs to apply there. And in Dubai, we have something called the Dubai Data Law, which governs data classification and data accuracy, and data sets across the government. In fact, the Dubai Data Law was issued by Dubai Data Establishment, which is part of Smart Dubai. Data privacy and confidentiality, this is also governed by the Dubai Data Law, but also by something called Dubai Data Policies. If you're interested in this, what I'm talking about here, we have these policies and the law publicly available on the internet, on the Dubai Data Establishment website. You can go on there and download the Dubai Data Law and download all the standards that govern data classification and accuracy. Those are publicly available. And if you're expanding this network and including parties that operate, for example, in the European Union and have to adhere to GDPR, then what happens to the other members in the network? Does everybody now adhere to GDPR? And what does that look like? Real life questions, here. Network security. What are the minimum security requirements, including the encryption levels for the different types of transactions? How do we manage risk? And what happens when a breach to one of the nodes, for example, happens? You know, what are the procedures that need to be taken there? Do you isolate that? Do you remove the party? How do you address that? And if you did all of that, you still need to have an audit mechanism and a self-correction mechanism based on that audit. Because let's face it, Smart Dubai cannot correct on behalf of every single organization, every single network, and I don't think any central entity should attempt to do that. So self-correction becomes part of this audit process. And we have a framework for that. In fact, on audit, we have a full-fledged, detailed audit framework, because we believe that if we give all this policy, but then we don't audit it, I'm not sure really what is the purpose then. You need to make sure that it's being implemented properly. Finally, on foundational capabilities, and I promise this is the last component on policy, and we'll move on to other fun things around industry creation and international leadership. But on this last element, the platform becomes important here. Can we use any platform as a service? This is a question the entities ask. Can we use any protocol? And I'll talk about the platform as a service in Dubai, the PaaS. Architecture, so what are some blockchain design and architecture standards that we need to adhere to? How do we design scalable networks from an architecture standpoint? And what are the standards that we need to adopt that relate to implementation and architecture in general? The shared services, so here I mentioned this several times, that it's not going to be only about blockchain, it's going to be about integrating other shared services like payment gateways and digital identities. So how do we use those shared services? Who is responsible in the network to integrate them? And what happens to the data storage and hosting as relate to these shared services? And finally, legal support. This in particular is related to what is known as smart contracts, which are a core capability of the blockchain. So relating to creating, reviewing, and auditing smart contracts, what are the legally binding responsibilities in the blockchain network? And how do you address them from a legal standpoint? And dispute resolution in the UAE and abroad related to network activities. And this becomes more complicated if you're adding parties that are not adhering to your jurisdiction. And many questions arise in that context. In fact, we have something called the Dubai Regulation Authority in Dubai. It's a court. It wants to become the first court for the blockchain, meaning the first court that understands what it takes for dispute resolution when you have blockchain technology implemented, because the dynamics of the transaction and the parties involved and how they interact differs substantially than a traditional dispute. So now they're gearing up to understand more and more the details of these legal procedures and become the first court of the blockchain. And you can read about that if you just Google DRA, Blockchain Court of the World, you'll see what they're doing on that. And we signed a MOU to support them in this endeavor. Finally, on this government efficiency pillar, we talked about the use cases and how we address those. We talked about policy, which is very important at this particular point in time for us in Dubai. And here's a little overview of what we did on the blockchain platform as a service. We partnered with IBM. And now today we have an active, live cloud environment that is built locally in Dubai, enterprise ready to join and deploy live production and full production onto it, so that when they're done with their MVPs, they're done with their POCs, they have a place to start scaling into full production on. And this is today available already. But it doesn't mean this is the only one. We're in the process of reviewing. There's another platform that is going to be offered in the market, and we're supportive. We have a review process, and if it meets the policy requirements, we are happy to approve it as a Smart Dubai approved PaaS to be used. We intervene in this because there is a lot related to security and data storage that is governed by, as I said, Dubai data law, and governed by also our security requirements that we need to take into account before allowing citizen data to be just applied to the blockchain. In fact, one of the components around data privacy is establishing consent for the sharing of this data in the network by the user, the owner of this data. So we take care about data privacy and confidentiality for our citizens. At the end, happiness is the metric. So you're not going to be happy if you find suddenly that you don't have any more privacy with your data. All right, the fun stuff. So that was the tough stuff. Now onto the fun stuff. Industry creation. How did we attract companies, startups, and create this buzz in Dubai? And I promise you, if you come to Dubai, in particular, if you come on April 2nd and 3rd, for the second year in a row, we're hosting our Future Blockchain Summit. I'm going to talk about it, but I just can't wait. Last year, we became the biggest summit globally. We had 8,000 attendees from around the world. The largest one in the year previous to that was in New York with 4,000. We didn't know we were going to be able to beat that record and have that much interest from the international community, but we did, and everybody came, and it was a great place to exchange ideas. We had thought leaders, industry experts, not only from blockchain, but all the other sectors that wanted to understand how they can adopt blockchain, from F&B and retail, logistics, supply chain, tourism, healthcare, education, energy, very much so mobility as well. So you're all invited. You can find all the information online as well. Future Blockchain Summit, Dubai. We did some analysis on whether what we felt was a buzz around blockchain actually translated to economic impact in terms of number of blockchain businesses in Dubai, and then the GDP contribution of blockchain in particular. We wanted to see if it was what we were feeling was actually real, quantitatively. And I'm happy to say it is. The market was growing at 19% globally. In Dubai, it was growing at a faster rate, at 24% in terms of market value of blockchain operations. It's a nascent technology, so that value is not yet in the billions, no matter where you look, not just in Dubai, because whoever is playing in that field is still testing. So I think we're going to be realizing exponential value in the coming 5 to 10 years. But if we have already a starting number, that is a great sign that there is a market and an economy. In fact, there are 8,000 global blockchain businesses. In Dubai, we have 114. This is a city of less than 3 million people. So to have 114 pure blockchain businesses is exciting. And that's 1.4% of the blockchain businesses globally are in Dubai. And this is where they're coming from, just like Dubai. If you walk in the street, you'll see people from all around the world, and so are the businesses. These are examples of, you might know some of these or identify, some of them are startups, some are large companies that are operating right now in the blockchain space, in the different sectors, with the private sector, working with the government as well. We kicked off this momentum in 2017. We held something called the Global Blockchain Challenge, Smart Dubai's Global Blockchain Challenge. We just posted online. We said, hey, if you have a great blockchain idea that you've taken from idea to implementation, so you have a proof of concept or a business, submit it. And we're going to invite the best 10 of you to Dubai to pitch your business as an entrepreneur to an audience of government, private sector, investors, VCs, and so forth. First year, we had 100 applications. We said, wow, that's great, not too bad. We had just launched the strategy earlier in the year, in January, late 2016, and this was in May, so a few months later. And they came, and they came from all around the world. So those 10 came from around 10 cities. We were very diverse geographically, and top 3 won financial awards. One of them that one was in the energy sector from Australia, the other was from Canada in the education sector, and the third was from the US in the valuable assets sector. In particular, you might have heard of Everledger and diamonds if you're into that. In 2018, we said, let's do it again. It was fun, but let's take it up a notch. So we held it in 2018 in the first year of the Future Blockchain Summit. We held the challenge inside the summit. So now there were 8,000 people walking around and trying to get a seat. And so it was overfull, overbooked. And this time we had 220 applications. So we doubled the number of applications. And we had 20 finalists instead of 10 because we just couldn't choose. And we flew them in. They got to attend the summit. They pitched. And again, 3 won. One in digital identity from Australia, the other in digital real estate asset transactions, democratizing the real estate assets by portionizing it on the blockchain. Anyway, cool concept called Smart Crowd from Dubai. And the third again from the US around unique assets like arts and watches and high value items. Now, this year, we have 720 applications. So I got from 100 to 720 in less than 2 years. And we're inviting 20 this year we've already informed the 20 finalists, and this time they're going to spend more time in Dubai, not just 2 or 3 nights, going to spend more like 5 to 6 nights. They're going to attend the entire summit, obviously pitch, hopefully win, but also set up meetings and exhibit in the conference. And these startups, we didn't really change our formula in terms of how we market, but I think the reputation of Dubai in fostering innovation and fostering startups is now beyond just the need for digital marketing. And many of these 700 startups told us that by word of mouth, they heard about the challenge and that they should go to Dubai and leave wherever they are. So a lot of those applications are from, I was surprised to see, from Silicon Valley, from Singapore, places that you would think already have what it needs for an entrepreneur, but it seems like we have something better, which is real use cases being implemented that they can be a part of. Finally, on international leadership, we talked about the global recognition that we've received, and now we have this title that causing us a lot of pressure, really, to continue to prove that we are the blockchain capital. That's not an easy task. To get it was something, but then to hold on to it is a whole other ballgame. And this is really what it's taking and took. I mean, these are just dates showing all the events that we've been holding. So there isn't a month that passes that we don't have a significant contribution to the community, locally and globally, whether it's an event or workshops that we're doing on blockchain to attract the audience to continue to come to Dubai. These are stats from the Future Blockchain Summit last year. As I mentioned, this year it's April 2nd and 3rd. This is stats in terms of attendees and different sectors that were part of this. Finally, final word is the following. Even though we had this strategy and we engaged with the entities in a very scientific formula, we have this first and this second, we had a policy, a platform as a service and all of that, still this is a nascent technology, and many times it felt like, and it still feels like we're trying to drive a car and build it at the same time. The door is hanging out, we're trying to get it on there. No wheels, maybe we'll find them along the way. So this is really what it feels like, but that's also the excitement and the buzz that it's caused. So all the efforts need to be aligned to make this a success. This is a Dubai story, really. Yes, governed by Smart Dubai, but if it weren't for all the organizations in the city rallying behind this dream and vision and working very closely with us, we wouldn't have been able to do it. And with that, I conclude. Thank you for listening. Hope it was useful.
Thank you very much for very visionary, insightful, inspiring, and very delivery focused and very practical presentations. We have colleagues online. We have 90 participants online. We've received questions from our online audience. We'll probably take 1 or 2. We have colleagues from our legal and policy community. When we started exploration with blockchain, we joined forces of our legal colleagues from both IFC and IBRD. I saw Gordon a little bit earlier, not sure if he's in the audience, but we have Patricia online. And the comments are, these are the best presentations on blockchain and digital transformation we've ever heard. So thank you very much. If there are any questions in the audience, please introduce yourselves. Can you please use the mic, please?
Thank you very much. It's an excellent presentation. Mohammed Bashar from DC, World Bank Family Network. My question to Zeina and to Dr. Aisha, I commend you and congratulate you. My question goes, I've been to Dubai, and the number of foreign migrant workers that transmit, if you sum it, billions of dollars through intermediate banks and Western Union, OMT and others. This is a question, how you managing that? Because these workers are basically being robbed with fees and so on, and with the banks. And the second question regarding the electricity print, because using a blockchain, we use more electricity. And how is Dubai using solar power to continue with the green effort that you are reducing the use of paper? Thank you.
I'll answer the electricity part, and I will leave the financial part with my colleague Zeina. We do have a clear strategy that by 2050 we will use 75% of renewable energies in our energy effort in Dubai. And just recently, the Energy Authority, they announced 10% of the household this year will be subscribed in a solar energy network. We have a huge investment in having smart grids that will allow us also to onboard the renewable energy. We do have the largest park, solar park in Dubai that will support not only our digital transformation, but the whole city to become more cleaner from an energy perspective. In a few months, we will have the Expo 2020, which will be fully run as a district in Dubai by a solar energy, which has never been done before in any place in the world. Thank you.
So the question on remittance is very timely and a very good question. We have over 1.5 million migrant workers in Dubai, and you're right, every first of the month they receive their salary and they go directly to the exchange immediately, not even a stop in the middle, to grab a bite or something. That whole amount really goes back home. We understand that, and so actually I say timely because we want to explore what we can do on that front, both in the context of what we're doing in the Dubai paperless strategy with Dubai Now, potentially onboarding that service onto the platform and having them use it directly there with reduced fees, but also the potential of blockchain in lower transaction remittance payments. And I don't know how you know this, but the week I'm back, March 17, I have already meetings set up with the two largest exchange platforms to talk about just that. So this is something that we are currently definitely exploring.
Can I actually add something to the remittance? Certain ways, I'm the UAE's commercial attaché. I actually know for a fact that the Interstellar Network, as well as Ripple, have already been engaging several banks in the UAE, as well as the exchange outlets as well. So there's already ongoing talk with the private sector, from the US private sector, with the top two major providers for that.
Also, it's MBD Bank. They already have a pilot with the ICIC Bank in India to do these kind of transactions with zero fees. And they've managed to have it very successfully, alhamdulillah, last year, and now they are scaling it with different banks in India. So we are already on that path, and we are working very closely with all these exchange entities to see how this remittance can be on board in blockchain. One of them is Emirates, some UAE Exchange.
Exchange, yes.
But in particularly UAE Exchange, they are so eager to onboard on top of blockchain as a platform to see how this kind of remittance will work with them into moving this agenda ahead to lower the cost for the worker in UAE.
Thank you for this presentation. Ali Halawi from the World Bank Governance MENA. So two quick questions, and because it's governance and the implication of blockchain and governance. What's the impact of your efforts since you started working since 2016 on the ranking of UAE in terms of international indicators like governance effectiveness? That's one. Two, for any ecosystem to be sustainable, one missing link I didn't see in the presentation is the role of local universities or research centers. I know that you have, I'm sure you have partnership with international universities, but local universities and local capacity to help in the research.
Allow me to answer the second question. You go ahead with the first one. When it's come to education, we know today with the fourth industrial revolution, it will require a new type of skills. And everyone is knowing that, okay, we need developers when it's come to blockchain, we need data scientists. And this has been an integral part of our work since day one, to work very closely with the academic institutions to onboard these new courses to improve the skills of our existing employees, whether it be in the government but also in the private sector. So we are working very closely with the Dubai University, RIT, Dubai Campus, Rochester Institute of Technology, and Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government. With RIT, we launched the first ever 2 master degrees around city science and data science, even before launching it here in the state. When it's come to compliance with the data law and making the government as whole ready to be a data-driven government, we are introducing these courses, executive courses, with Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government. When it's come to AI and enabling the R&D ecosystem in our city, we are working with the Dubai University to have AI lab, onboarding many companies, whether it be from China but also from Silicon Valley, to introduce it to the local communities and improving their skills around it. Thank you.
Regarding rankings, international rankings, already Dubai and the UAE has a great ranking in terms of government efficiency and because of the trust of citizens in government, and that's allowed the government to expand its mandate and explore different technologies. So in the IMD report, for example, we have seen substantial increase in our ranking, but as a country, as the UAE in that report. And this year, in fact, we ranked #1 globally for attracting foreign investment in emerging technologies. And this was something that the recent publication coming out. And we'd be happy to share, we have actually a report on all the UAE and Dubai's rankings in every single global index. We'd be happy to share that if you'd like.
And to be honest, when you see the ranking, it's about countries, it's not about cities. Very few indices are around cities, and that's why we are working very closely with different international organizations to develop smart cities indices that will show all these efforts and how we can benchmark different cities, especially when it comes to smart cities. Today, many cities claim to be smart cities, but their focus being only around specific sectors. But smart city is about a whole city. And a holistic approach around cities. That's why we progress a lot with the United Nations, with their agency ITU to develop the Smart City Index. But you're more better than me. Working with international organizations take a lot of time, years, and efforts to develop a new index. So that's what we need support also from your side here.
I would like to respond to that last point that from the digital development practice perspective, we see this opportunity is extremely valuable for our clients who are who are thinking what's next in digital transformation at city level, at national level. And what you shared today is evidence, is a testament that you're not just talking, but you're making things happen, and you're already advanced on that path, and there's much to learn from. So we will be certainly sharing the recorded video, the presentation with our clients, but also following up on your offer to collaborate on this opportunity, on this topic, the digital transformation more broadly, the smart city agenda, the blockchain. So from our practice perspective, we see this as a unique experience, as a very advanced implementation of this emerging disruptive technologies. So for us, it's a great opportunity we're not going to lose. So thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to long-term collaboration.
Actually, I would like to invite everyone here and also the colleagues who are digitally linked with us during this session to join us, whether it be virtually through the Smart City Global Network, but also you are most than welcome to come and visit us in our offices in Dubai to showcase for you what we've been doing in the last 3 years in advancing our city and our country from a smart city perspective. We do receive many delegations on a weekly basis, and it's part of our cultural aspect to also give you and extend this invitation to you to come and see the vibrant smart city in reality.
Well, I think we need to conclude this session. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you that have participated and those online as well. I have been really inspired by your presentation, very rich, and I think you're very generous to share all your knowledge. So we look forward to continue to learn from you and try to apply these solutions for the benefit of the rest of the world. So I know that Dr. Aisha and Zeina, you're on your way to Austin, Texas for an international competition on smart cities. I think there was above 60 applicants. You're on the top 5. So we are wishing you the best. I think if it's based on that, you have a very good chance to win. So on this note, I'd like a big round of applause.